For today, we want to talk about the anatomy of a newspaper. We want to learn how to read a newspaper and find the information we want and how it's organized. So, we've already been through newspapers. We've already tried to identify the different sections. We've kind of talked about, or you've talked about in your small groups, about what should be in each section. And now we want to go through, kind of check our facts and make sure that we're all on the same page. So, in order to really understand and be able to write within the different layouts and organizations and features of our newspaper, we want to talk about the sections of a newspaper and the features of a story within that section. So we have different newspaper sections. The newspapers are divided into different sections, like the front page. There's a local section. You'll see a lot like our Baltimore or Washington news, and then even there's sometimes like a Montgomery County section. Then there's business, sports, entertainment, and then you have your opinion editorial pieces as well. So when we look at the front page is pretty interesting because it's where the most newsworthy stories are. And this is something that we're going to get more into tomorrow, is looking at news determinants. So is it timely? Is it close to us? And then like the impact, is it interesting? Those different pieces we'll talk more about tomorrow. But that front page, like that's where the most newsworthy stories are. That's where they're going to try and get your attention. Then we have the local section. This is where news about where you live is located. So sometimes it might be like newsworthy, like all news should be newsworthy, but this is more considered about where things are happening around where you live and what it's important around you. There's also a business section, so this features stories about businesses. It's about companies who are hiring, expanding, experiencing growth. It talks a lot about money and investing in the stock market, so a lot of people will see things about Amazon here. You can also see things about how grocery stores are expanding, like Rockville got a new Aldi, so that could also be in business or local. Then you have the sports section. This could be high school. This could be semi-professional or professional stories. They also have the stats box and a calendar for televised sports events. Then you have an entertainment section. This has anything that includes like book, movie, or play reviews. They have stories about award shows and then entertainment events. This is also where movie times are listed or new upcoming movies. And then this is also sometimes you'll find stories, about the new updates on the Kardashian family or things centered around things that we like to be entertained by in the news. A lot of star news. And then you have your op-ed. It stands for opinions and editorials. This is where editors publish their columns and where people can read letters to the editor. Most of these things, like people will ask for advice or their opinion on a certain subject. So this means that everything, most, at least, all of these things are subjective, meaning that they have their own opinion in them. So now we want to kind of mini quiz ourselves on what kind of sections these stories could be found in. So it's just kind of give you headlines, might give you like a little bit of blurb about the article. Let's talk about where it could fall under, okay? So just think to yourself, what section would you think this story could be found in? It says a suicide bomber in Kabul kills 57 people and injures hundreds more. It's going to be in the front page section. So that's big news. That's a lot happening. It's high interest. People want to know about what's going on in the world, and it doesn't fit into our local section, at least looking from our perspective, because we're not there. We are in Maryland, United States. This one. The local professional sports team won their game last night. So we have a couple things going here, okay? But I want you to look at keywords. The local professional sports team won their game last night. This should be found in the sports section. Okay, this is high. Some people were like, oh, well, it's local news. So it can be found in our local news too, but it's the professional sports team. So Even though it's local to us, might be local to somebody else, it's a professional sports team and therefore should be found in the sports section. A letter written to an editor. I feel like this one's a dead giveaway. Okay? Yep. In the opinion and editorial section. Because it's written to an editor, it's subjective. A 7.8 earthquake hits Hawaii, and California and Japan are currently on a tsunami warning. The front page. So again, this is big news, a lot happening out in the world. We want to really get to know, that hard-hitting stuff first. So we want to know about the earthquake that hit Hawaii, and then how California and Japan are currently on a tsunami warning. A review of the newest action-adventure movie. There's a lot of movies coming out soon, so where could this type of article be found? The entertainment section, right? So we want to look at those entertainment pieces, reviews about movies and plays, and all of those pieces will be found in the entertainment section. This is one of my favorite ones to write too. This is going to be a fun one. All right. To keep up with the increasing cost of production, the city is raising water and sewer rates. The local section. Okay, so some of this, people are like, oh, well, it talks about cost, it might be business, but we're talking about the city. We're talking about our city in particular. What are we doing? What's going on with us? A top investor is providing free financial advice during an upcoming teleconference. The business section. So here it's not saying any, local people giving out some advice. Go over here to find this type of information. It is talking about a top investor providing free financial advice during an upcoming teleconference. A high school baseball player signs a deal with a local minor league team. The sports section. So here, again, we're looking at those professional pieces, so like a local, even though it's local, it's like high school, but they are still signing with a minor league team, so still looking at that professional aspect for the sports. Okay, now we want to talk about the features of a news story. We also looked at the different pieces that go into a news article. We looked at the front page. It gave you a handout where it showed you the different pieces to a front page. So just understanding these elements and layouts are really going to help you, especially as we start organizing our own front pages and our own newspapers. So the main things that you want to look at: headlines. These are the largest text on the page, located at the top of your story. They grab your reader's attention. And then your sub-headline. Some of us might have a sub-headline for our articles coming up. It's something that we're going to be practicing. These are slightly smaller than the headline, and then they provide readers with some additional information that maybe can't fit in the headline. Then you have your byline. That states who wrote this story. So that's going to be your name. And then the date line. So states where the story was physically written, usually written in all capitalized letters, and it's on the same line where the story begins. And we'll look more into this in the coming weeks about what it actually looks like and how we can do it on our computers. You have photos. We're going to talk a little bit about photos and photojournalism, but we're also going to do newspaper photos that correlate with our articles, so understanding what photos are, photo captions, and giving photo credit. We have our jump line. Some people see this in our newsletters that the editors have been creating. They will put down at the beginning of the story, continued on page 2, and that happens a lot with print media. Like they want to grab your attention on the front page, but then continue the story somewhere else. Sometimes they'll have like little advertisement boxes where they'll say like, here's where the story begins. Check out this news in the entertainment section or something like that. So here's what we really want to get into, because on Friday we're going to look at a newspaper, we're going to talk about news determinants a little bit more in depth and have our debate, but we also want to look at what a newspaper really has. Okay, so here you have your section and page number, you have your masthead, so we're all going to come up with our own newspaper titles, so you'll have your own masthead for whatever you want. So like the masthead for our newsletter is the Sligo Insider. So you'll be able to come up with your own, tailored to your newspaper. You have the headline, subhead, byline, dateline, photo, photo credit, photo captions, okay? So all of these pieces here we kind of have together, and then we have your jump line down there. So just looking at this, keeping in mind that these are all things that we're going to be practicing in the upcoming weeks. We're going to have to be able to include all of these things in our articles from this point on. It's going to be a great practice. Okay, so that concludes our lesson. What I would like you to do, please, is jump back to your salmon or orange colored assignment. If you need to study up a little bit, study up a little bit. Otherwise, go ahead and move on to the quiz located in the Google Classroom.